The Mycoplasma bovis roadshow saw the Agriculture Minister just northeast of Pahiatua today in a community called Makuri, roughly 45 minutes east of Palmerston North, a similar kind of distance north of Masterton and a little bit closer to Dannyburg as you head towards Hawke's Bay. In other words, the kind of farming country many townies seldom get to, but M. bovis can. Now, we've spoken to the Minister a couple of times on Checkpoint, but we wanted to talk to the people he's been speaking to, so we called the Makuri Country Club on the phone in the hall, and asked to speak to a farmer. And our cameraman Richard Tinderlin was already there following the minister, so he rolled as we talked. And the dairy farmer the phone was first passed to was Tracey Collis, who also happens to be the Tararua district mayor.
To support the farmers and the community, but actually every one of these public meetings that I've attended, I've learnt something myself to take back to my own farm and community, and I guess share with everybody else. And you know, that's through all media channels. I think the more informed that we all are, that we can stop the spread and gain a greater understanding of how it does spread.
So Tracey, you are there in two capacities really, but both as the local mayor and also as a farmer yourself.
Yes, that's correct.
And is this a cause for concern in your district?
There's a lot of uncertainty around, I guess we're coming up into calving. It's what plans do people put in place going forward. So for my own property, there is, you know, where are cows grazed off during the winter. There's the consideration of boundary fences. Other farms, obviously we want to stop the spread and help towards eradication. And watching the uncertainty for farmers in the district, it's not something you'd wish on anybody.
So can you explain, so cows grazed off means that over winter when you're not milking, you take the girls somewhere else for feed?
Yes, so my husband and I have got a runoff up the road, so they are transported to the runoff. So you've got that whole transport issue. For Mike and I, we actually walk them down the road, so there's contact with neighbours. There's all those processes to think about and ensuring that we don't have any contact with other animals.
Which is absolutely central to dairying in New Zealand, isn't it? Particularly over winter. That's why June 1st is called Gypsy Day. Stock gets moved around. So do we have to change our behaviours entirely, or do you think this can be managed?
I think we need to tidy up our practices. Mike and I spent 5 years as organic dairy farmers, so you know, within that system we had everything that came onto the farm was clean, so any truck had to arrive clean onto the property and leave that way as well. So there's some of those practices that we can tidy up, especially within boundaries. Hygiene practices, I think calf rearing and the way we purchase stock and the way we rear those stock will change this season.
Yeah. Collis, thank you so much. It's really good to talk to you. I can hear lots of people there. Is there anyone standing nearby you who wants to join us on RNZ?
Look, I'll just go and grab Sally for you. I won't be a
Thanks
moment.
so much. Lovely to talk to you, Tracey. Thank you.
Okay, take care, John.
Thank you. So here we are at the Makuri Country Club, which is just north of Pahiatua in the northern Wairarapa, starting to drift towards the southern Hawke's Bay perhaps. Don't bother texting in about my geography.
G'day John, Sally speaking.
How are you, Sally?
I'm good, and you?
Yeah, good. Lovely to talk to you. What kind of farmer are you?
I'm a sheep and beef farmer, ex-dairy, but yes, sort of, my hometown was not far from here. Okay,
and so are you worried about M. bovis?
Oh, absolutely. So I should explain that I'm the local Federated Farmers meat and wool person.
Right, well, it's lovely to have you with us. Okay, so you're, well, a bit like Tracey, you're joining us in a couple of capacities. Let's talk about the personal one. Are you going to change practices on your farm, particularly around your beef farming, as a result of what you're learning?
Yes, because we tend to buy in dairy beef and fatten them. So we'll be looking for more surety about where they've come from. Will be one step, and we'll also be probably practicing more care around the transport of them.
It's really fascinating, isn't it? Because farming has worked on a kind of informal mass transit of stock. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and all of a sudden, everything you do is going to have to become more rigorous, more cautious, better supervised?
Yes and no. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's that you'll certainly give it more thought about some of your existing farm practices. But yeah, like hopefully if we can manage to eradicate this long term, the pathways of share milking and things like that will still be there.
Mm. One final question. Do you know
Yes.
anyone with M. bovis, or do you know of anyone with M. bovis?
Yes.
You do?
Yes. And I also know of one family that have come through and are now had the restrictions lifted, and that's hugely positive for them.
Wow.
And I think that's what we're going to keep in mind, and that's part of the privacy thing and why it's so awkward. You know, like they've come through now without being ostracised from the community because, the testing proved that they didn't have it. So, yeah, we've got to keep that in mind too, because if it would say it was a stud farm,
Yeah.
that would be the end of their thing. If we'd put it, their reputation would be shot if we'd put it out there too early. So by giving them that privacy to do the testing, etc., they found out that they're clear. Yeah.
So they must have been pretty stressed out during the period of waiting to get the results.
Absolutely stressed to the max, and you can imagine it's not easy on anyone, and we want to come through this with every person intact, if nothing else, yeah.
Sally Dryland talking through that great phone on the wall there. Sally's the Federated Farmers Tararua District Meat and Wool Chairperson. She's also, as you heard, a beef and sheep farmer, and before that, Tararua District Mayor and dairy farmer Tracey Collis.